Well, Happy New Year. It's January 1st, 2026. And something I've been doing over the last week or so after I finished some of the December projects I had was I thought I'd just organize my shop a little bit better. One thing I used to do is I wouldn't clean the shop until after I finished a project. My last project, what I did was I would clean up right after every single day. I would spend a few minutes cleaning up. And one thing that did is it just gave me a better attitude coming into the shop. And so just very quickly, again, I've gone through and just deep cleaned pretty much everything. And I've got my dust collection, obviously, try to wipe down some of the piping there. On the miter saw here, I just did a better job of trying to collect the dust. Added I don't know, I'm going to see if this works off of this Hercules vacuum. I put some front suction there, and then I also have section right here, right at the blade. And as I pan around the assembly table, I've got it cleaned off, the router table, and then I've got my drum sander. And one thing I also kind of want to, here's all my clamps. Those have always been pretty well organized. But this corner right here has always been kind of a nightmare. So kind of what I've done is all my hardwoods, I don't work much with cedar anymore, but here's some maple, and then I've got some walnut, and then up above is just some scraps of 2x4s. But as I bring in my lumber, I try to put all the long boards right here. But one thing I've added is this section right here, whereas I have some cutoff pieces, it's easy to see what I have. So right here, I've got some Purple Heart, and then I've got some walnut, and then maple, and then cherries at the bottom. So it'll at least be easier to see what I've got. And then up at the top there, I've got my small cuts of plywood, and then some a little bit longer cuts, not as long as these. These are at least 8 feet long, but if I've got some 4-footers or shorter, then I'll put them here. And then I started stacking my plywood facing out, so it's easy to see if it's 3/4 or 1/2 inch plywood. And then I really cleaned up this area over here. Right here, I've got the P2X tool. This belongs to our church, but I've done a bunch of work over Christmas for the church, so I brought the machine here, and I set it up on this table. And then my paint booth is back there. So, and as you can see, it's just going to be a lot better. And I've already noticed that when I do a project, if I'm cleaning after every single day, it's just, like I say, it's just a lot better. Keeps the shop cleaner, and hopefully this will be able to hold this cleanliness throughout the year. So Happy New Year to everybody, and I'll be starting a project here in the next few days.